how it happens. But for like it does not do this alone. Each and every Thursday, we are thankful to have someone who makes it really, really easy for us. We've got Tafadzwa from Zimoko joining us in studio. Taf, good morning, my guy. Thank
Good
you so much for
morning.
joining us.
And I like the way you like play yourself down, but you're a very important part of this. If you are a driver or a motorist, you're very, very important to this segment.
Absolutely, you have to be part of it because at the end of the day, there's so much to be learned from each and every episode, like we always do. So, Taf, today we've got something interesting, and we were speaking about this of
Yeah, yeah.
full foul.
Or FAW.
FAW,
What
as
is the
we,
correct
we see
pronunciation?
those tracks written FAW, full or foul, however you wanna put it. But there's been something very significant that's happened because FAW has launched something, the 2025 model range in May, and what I've seen over time, and I've come to admire, is the efforts that are put into these restructurings and these developments. Each and every time you can tell there's significant effort to make it, you know, to make the quality even higher, to make the product like sometimes you don't even it goes as far as you don't need to be inside a vehicle. You just see a vehicle and you can tell there was effort here.
Yeah.
And so obviously with the 2025 model, I like to believe there is so much anticipation going around for this.
100%. And what I like about FAW or FAW, to be very keen, I'll be very keen to hear from my colleagues in the industry what the proper pronunciation for the truck is. What I like is their commitment to production, and not just commitment to production in the sense that they're just producing these vehicles in South Africa. No, they're meeting the conditions required specifically for Africa. What that says to me is that you're getting a truck that's built for purpose, that's built to do exactly what it's supposed to achieve. And not just that, they have a whole entire lineup which is being introduced, and these will fit rather specific segments of the market they're meant to cater for. So that means more choice for the customers and a better car overall for businesses to achieve what they want, be it logistics, the last mile runs, be it maybe specialized movement of certain things, or in some cases, if we look at highly specialized products like we think of moving things like glass or windscreens, you don't just throw it onto any car. Yes, it is basically the same shell, but you have to think of the space that's used to carry. Because when it comes to commercial application for commercial vehicles, the back, the load tray is what's important in terms of what it can do. So it's nice to see that FAO is now putting emphasis on its new production line for its new models being introduced in 2025, with a big emphasis on it being suited for the region, and also for them being more specialized and with more models in the range. I think it will cater to a number of businesses and fit a lot of applications. So I like the way that they're going, built in Africa for Africa, and produce different models that suit different applications. I think it's the correct way to go.
Interesting. I stand corrected, but it's not only trucks they do, is it?
No, no. So small cars as well. No, maybe not so popular in Zimbabwe, but if you think of the Chinese market, it's actually funny. I mean, let's go to the Japanese market, which is probably more popular here in Zimbabwe. If you think of, say, a car company, you think they're limited to maybe smaller cars or in some cases bigger cars. But Subaru is a classic example. They used to make construction vehicles, and then they dovetailed into making smaller cars, which were very reliable because of their heritage in making construction vehicles. So that's why Subarus can tend to be tuned quite highly and have high tolerances for some of these modifications because of the construction itself. So far as well, they also produce smaller vehicles. If you play in the larger commercial vehicle space, chances are, especially if you're a manufacturer from China, you will have an interest in light commercial vehicles, or more commonly known as pickups, single cabs, and double cabs. So they do have an arm that actually produces those as well.
Interesting stuff. I'm just thinking to myself, while it's good that they are building, trucks that are suitable for African conditions, as it is there a difference? Because when I look at China, I want to believe they're highly productive as well. So, what's the stance now? Maybe is it now the chain that comes with the terrain that we operate in, or basically just because I'm thinking they're far ahead in terms of being commercial, and obviously they have particular uses for the same truck. So is it about terrain, or there are other maybe considerations for that?
So 100%, one of the biggest influences to modifying a vehicle's whatever it is dynamic to suit a certain region is the terrain it's going to traverse in, because that impacts the suspension being used on that vehicle. So suspension used in China, suspension used in Europe for the same truck, or suspension used in Africa, more times than not will be very different. Our road conditions here are more challenging as opposed to maybe those outside of the country, overseas in Europe or in China, where you find the infrastructure may be much more developed. Roads are smoother, they go into more rural areas, and there's more tarmac available, which means that there's less requirement for rigid, stronger suspension. Right. So that's just the suspension element of it. Let's talk about engines. In places like Europe, where, for example, where Euro 6 and above is the rating, where your engine has to be highly computerized to manage fuel emissions. Right. You tend to find that their engine requirements, they are much more sophisticated. Sensor for this, sensor for that, fuel management system for this and for that, computer box for this and that. Versus our conditions here in Africa, we prefer trucks to be much simpler, right, with easier technology, less electronics, as it were, and more mechanical. It suits our applications here more. And that leads up to reliability, to maintenance, the cost of maintenance, the cost of running, overall fuel efficiency. So you have to look at the region that vehicle is going to move in and make them according to the required specifications or conditions that it needs to operate. So you find, for lack of better words, we have somewhat dumbed down vehicles here, especially in the commercial applications. But that's not because, we don't want the more advanced ones. They suit our conditions more in terms of maintenance and, of course, in terms of durability and reliability. So simpler sometimes is better, particularly for our regions here where things are tougher.
Interesting. So when we now speak about the costs of getting the 2025 model, but before that, maybe you can give us a rundown of how it has been traditionally in terms of the cost of these Ford trucks.
Well, when you talk of FAW, you have to think of all the wider Chinese brands as a whole in terms of what they've done. They have literally cut costs in terms of cut the price point for entry into a new truck across the range. We're talking from your lighter trucks, maybe your 3.5 tons, all the way up to maybe your 30-ton capable towing horses. We find like companies like FAW, we found it Shackman, and things of the nice. Companies, commercial brands that have come from China have undercut the market quite a lot. Their products tend to be quite cheaper, which means the access point to the average business becomes much wider. They're more attracted to that. Now, cutting costs is fine. It makes access to a product cheaper. But we have to look at the product's quality and how well it does in terms of what it's supposed to do. By making the product accessible, I think they've done very well. By enhancing their lineup, like they've done with the new lineup announcement for 2025, it's also good. It means they've spread the options to wider businesses and wider applications. These brands are somewhat still new in African all-terrain. The attractiveness from price is good. Time will tell how strong they are and how fit for purpose they are making them. But somewhat, they seem to be doing quite all right. And yeah, it will be interesting to see as we go into the future, as more and more people adopt them, how well they can move. But for now, I applaud them for making these ones specific to our region and increasing the amount of models available and range. It's what every business wants. Diversity, so you can pick the best tool for the right job.
Absolutely. Interesting. Now moving on to something else, still on lineups, and still in South Africa as well. Toyota's 2025 lineup for South Africa. Yet another interesting one as well. And a couple of updates and developments on some of the models as well. What are we expecting? I think this part a lot of listeners will be really looking forward to it. Yeah. So what are we looking at when in terms of the significant updates in 2025?
So what happens in the beginning of the year is that a lot of car companies announce new models. During the course of the year, these models start to become released and go into market. So there's been a lot of, and Toyota has always been a big name in the we call them light commercial vehicles or single cab and double cab space.
Yeah.
Of course, there's other traditional players, your Nissans, who unfortunately at a global scale are going through some problems. We also have your Mitsubishis, we have your Mazdas. So there's quite a bit of competition in that space for your double and single cab models. There's been a lot of announcements of late, hybridized models in the double cab space. We're going to talk about a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle in the double cab space being talked about. Right now, China is dominating in terms of production of vehicles and the number of models coming out of China in terms of the double cab space. So you have to look at it this way. When traditional companies who have enjoyed, in fact, companies like Toyota, who are the market leaders when it comes to these spaces, have enjoyed, I won't call it a monopoly, but, have enjoyed a big chunk of the pie for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, into these new boys, you have to show that you're keeping up with trends, with what's happening around you in the environment you operate in. So I think this announcement of a few new models from Toyota is to try and to inject some excitement from its hardcore loyalists and maybe potential clients by introducing, the Hilux Legend 55, which is one of their showpiece cars for their most bought vehicle, which is the Hilux, one of the most popular ones.
That's actually interesting, the Hilux Legend 55.
And funny thing for me, I prefer the single cab. I don't know why to the double cab. I am still trying to find out why, but I just prefer the single cab. So it's one of the most selling.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also, you have to keep the excitement in that. It's fine if you're selling very well, but you have to keep the excitement in your product.
Mm-hmm.
So the Legend 55 for me, the Hilux Legend 55, I think is a product that just injects more passion into the popular Hilux. Remember, there's a new Hilux around in the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So just because there's a new model coming up doesn't mean that the ones that were produced for sale,
Yeah.
it should just sit there stagnant.
Yeah.
You have to do something that excites the market and
Absolutely.
get them to adopt this car in anticipation for the new one to come. We must still sell. So I think the Hilux Legend 55 sits perfect in that space, just to create excitement, keep anticipation, keep the brand moving as we transition to the newer model, which I feel will now start to answer its rivals a bit more in terms of technology, maybe how it looks and stuff like that. So the lineup of the Hilux Legend 55, the Fortuner GR Sport, and you find that there's a lot of GR, which is their sports tuned or premium version, if you want to call it, of the Toyota range of models. The Corolla Cross and the GR Yaris, which is very popular in South Africa.
I love
they
the
love,
Cross.
they love their small cars.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
But with the Cross, I think they did something special.
Ah, that's
I
good.
can't put my finger onto what it is. Is it the main? I don't know, but it's just beautiful.
I think for me, what it might be is the design. They went very radical, very
Right.
linear, boxy. They look much more not boring. They're now more modernized, more edgy. They have a very strong character lines. I think it's a more exciting feel for it. And funny enough, like when I see the Toyota Cross, and I think about what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is the new RAV4 which is being introduced and now revealed. They look very similar. The RAV4 being a bit bigger, but I like the fact that they now have a design language for the new lineup of vehicles, which is angular straight, very aggressive looking, and what I like, and I always criticize Japanese car makers for this, they are becoming more modernized, listening to the customers and listening to things that excite people versus make a car that makes the manufacturer or the designer happy. So I think these are all very good leads. All of these cars, the Hilux Legend 55, the Fortuner GR Sport, which I know it also, I think with the Prado GR also being announced, the Corolla Cross, the updates that are coming to it, and the Yaris, which I like small cars. I think these 4 models and these new updates that they've brought up to the lineup bring excitement back to Toyota.
Yeah.
And people can get passionate about the brand again, and helps with their sales figures, which is ultimately the goal. Sell more cars. So I think they did very well to introduce these vehicles now.
Interesting stuff. 22 minutes before we get to 12 for midday. This is the last and final hour of the Capital Crunch, and of course it is Under the Hood, our weekly cash show. Tab is in the building, and we're speaking about different things happening across the motoring landscape. We've been talking about the 2025 lineup for the FAO trucks, also the Toyota 2025 lineup for South Africa as well. Quite a number of important updates coming up as well. And if you are a car lover, you might be following what's happening in that regard as well. And of course, as is our job, we'll be keeping you updated in terms of what is happening in that regard. We'll take a short breather. When we come back, we continue with our conversation. Do not go away.
3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone? It's your boy Rolly 10, and you're listening to Harare Radio.
So if you're tired of chasing payments, and if you're struggling to reconcile payments, well, say hello to Pay Now Bill Pay, the smartest way for businesses to get paid. We help businesses get paid fast and help customers pay with ease. PayNow's unified platform lets you collect payments effortlessly, and PayNow makes payment collection seamless through mobile money, bank channels, card payments, and in-person payments, all through our trusted partner network. Now, join thousands of businesses and organizations across Zimbabwe who rely on us every single day, powered by a decade of trusted expertise. So why wait? Join the thousands who are getting paid smarter with PayNow. Visit paynow.co.zw or call 086 77665463 today. Hashtag PayNow, taking the pain out of payments.
We calculate. We elevate. We innovate. But above all, we dominate. Capital 100.4 FM at 8. Harare Pod.
Welcome back, and we are still on it as well on Under the Hood, giving you updates in terms of the motoring industry and what you can expect. Now, Taf, moving on to something special as well. Is it PHEV? How do I pronounce that? Is it PHEV or PERV pickups? What exactly is it?
Depends what you want to say, but most common one is PHEV.
PHEV.
Yeah.
It's been a day of
how do you pronounce this? How do you pronounce this? No, so we call them PHEVs. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicles is the full acronym for them. These are vehicles that are becoming very popular on the road. So just to explain this technology, we have, of course, your traditional ICE vehicles or internal combustion engine vehicles. That's your petrol, just your ordinary petrol car. We can include the diesel vehicles in there. Then more recently, we've been seeing the rise of hybrid electric vehicles, which have your ICE engine or your internal combustion engine, be it smaller than normal, combined with a battery pack and electric motor that help with fuel efficiency, help with power, and it's just a way to maximize the fuel efficiency of the car, how smooth it drives, and in some applications, the power available for the vehicle. So you know with your pickups and double cabs, it's about kilowatts and newton meters. So your hybrid electric vehicles in that space have been helping more with power output as opposed to fuel efficiency. Now we've moved towards your plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. So the idea of these plug-in hybrid electric vehicles is that they have a bigger battery to power the electric motor, right, which means you can travel longer distance on purely electric power only. But the computer is also smart enough that it also behaves like a hybrid electric vehicle, in that the engine can recharge the battery and be used together to produce a bigger power output in the case of single cab to double cab vehicles, or SUVs that require bigger power output, or in smaller vehicles result in much better, superior fuel efficiency. So long and short of it is we're transitioning to use much less fuel to travel a greater distance. So fill up your tank once, still travel the same amount of distance you need to go in the mud. That's the whole idea behind it. So what is very interesting about PHEVs or plug-in hybrids or PHEVs is that they're becoming a bit more prominent in the pickups. It's been happening in the world, in the first world, the Asian countries, European countries, but now this technology has come down to Southern Africa. These vehicles have been introduced in South Africa. You will see them filtered down to Zimbabwe, of course, and the SADC region as well. And interestingly enough, BYD has introduced the Shark PHEV. They've done very well with the Shark HEV in South Africa. It was a double cab that shook up the market in terms of its performance figures. Remember, plug-in hybrids or hybrid electric vehicles in the double cab or single cab format, it's not about fuel efficiency. These are workhorses at heart. So performance figures is key. To give you context, at one point the GWM P500 HEV was considered the most powerful double cab vehicle on the market. That was last year, late towards last year. Then came the BYD Shark, hybrid electric with a bit more power. Ford upped their game in terms of their ICE engines to produce a bit more power, but they couldn't quite keep up with that magic number, which is your Newton meters or torque figure, because they're being beaten by these HEVs. So guess what they did? They introduced a hybrid electric themselves for the Ranger, and now you're finding that these other manufacturers are taking a step further and now introducing plug-in electric vehicles. So you have your Shark PHEV that's coming out. We'll also have very close behind, and just like I said in the story, Ford also introducing a Ranger plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So this space with double cabs, we've been talking about it for a while. It's becoming very interesting. It's becoming interesting because in Africa, and it's becoming more prominent for us because here in Africa, double cabs and single cabs make up the volumes of vehicles bought, numbers.
Right.
Which is why you find your Toyotas, your Nissans, your Mitsubishis, your Mazdas. Nowadays, your BYDs and things of that nature, your Fords always have these big volume numbers in terms of what they sell. But now that technology is usually for smaller cars is coming into these bigger cars. And the race right now, I see it as performance driven. Who produces the most powerful one?
That's where the money is.
Interesting. The BYD looks like a very luxurious truck, is it?
It is.
From its design, it really looks luxurious like that.
Very boxy, which is the standard these days for car design.
Yeah.
So it seems. But the inside, where the big battle is, it's a customer-driven vehicle in that they've listened to what people want. It's a big car. It's not small. So it's still a pickup. It's a big pickup at that, a double cab. But that space they've used to make the car bigger and more aggressive and look more capable, they've also done very well inside. Because this car has got everything you can think of inside. Massage seats, heated and cooled seats, lots of space, seats you can adjust 17,000 different ways, heads-up displays, big infotainment systems, voice operation, you name it, this car probably has it. It's safe to say that the Shark is definitely the Shark 6, which was the hybrid electric version, had a lot of technology inside. So it made the double cab market more luxurious, which is what's forced the hand of other people. You have Ford now making a plug-in hybrid, and they've really enhanced the interior for the Fords, where I think they saw they were falling behind on the interior. Not just them, other car manufacturers as well, especially in double cabs. You have another interesting car people don't talk about. We talked about it a few weeks ago, which is the Kia Tasman, which is also Kia's first try at a double cab. And I think it looks a bit like the Shark.
It does.
It does look a bit Shark.
The same boxy design as well.
That look is very polarizing. You either like it or you don't like it.
I know. There's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground. But what is certain is performance. These cars are beasts. These things throw around a lot of kilowatt figures, lots of torque figures. And for me, what I'm curious to see is, as we see more and more of these vehicles going on the road, are they going to replace your loved diesel engines in double cabs? in terms of reliability, in terms of usage, because these figures, they sound nice when you're selling the car, but if someone doesn't use it in terms of application, they're really worth nothing. But the people who actually require these big performance figures, high kilowatts, high Newton meters, when they start using them long term, it's going to be interesting to see where they go. But for now, the competition exists. You make one, we make one. We have to keep up with each other. So the double cab market, we've been saying it over and over again, is becoming very interesting for this factor.
Interesting. And we'll see how that goes as well. And of course, it's 11 minutes before we get to 12 midday. We'll take yet another breather. When we come back, we continue with our conversation as we get into the last and final part of Under the Hood. Now, you never get tired of exciting news, and that's why we need to say this again and again and again. If you are tired of chasing payments, if you're struggling to reconcile payments, say hello to Pay Now Bill Pay, the smarter way for businesses to get paid. We help businesses get paid fast and help customers pay with ease. Pay Now's unified platform lets you collect payments effortlessly. Pay Now makes payment collections seamless through mobile bank channels, card payments, and in-person payments, all through our trusted partner network. Join thousands of businesses and organizations across Zimbabwe who rely on us every day, powered by a decade of trusted expertise. So why wait? Join the thousands who are getting paid smarter with PayNow. Visit paynow.co.zw or call 086 5463 today. Hashtag PayNow, taking the pain out of payments.
Taking control. We're taking over the airwaves in Capital 100.
Alrighty then, on to the last part of Under the Hood for today. Now, Taf, this I'm proud because I've been lucky enough to experience the feel of the Tigo, and for to get some news that they're expanding into larger options for me is really electrifying. So Sherry is set to introduce its larger Tigo 9, both ICE and PHEV options, and Tigo 7 PHEV in South Africa as well. And for me, this is just exciting news.
Yeah, no, Cherry has been doing very well. It's one of those brands that have been growing globally very quickly. It sounds like we're talking about Chinese brands a lot when we talk about car news around the world. And for good reason. A lot of technology, new models are coming from China. And right now, they are at the very front of the pack when it comes down to car design, motor industry news, interesting news in the motor industry, new vehicles. And Chery is keeping up with its other peers from the Chinese market by introducing the Tigo 9, which will be their largest SUV on offer in Southern Africa. So this one is now bigger than their previous Tigo 8, which was their 7-seater option, also came in a 6-seater configuration, which was more or less a larger mid-size SUV. The Tigo 9 will be classified as a large SUV. To help with classifications, we use something people are familiar with. A small SUV will be like your old RAV4s. Mid-size SUV will be like the current RAV4. Then your large SUV, things like your Prado, even larger will be the Land Cruiser. So just to give people a context in terms of the classifications. So the Chery brand used to have the Tigo 4, the Tigo 7, the Tigo 8 as its largest, and now they have the largest, which is the Tigo 9. So what can you expect from the Tigo 9? It's being larger means one thing. It can accommodate more technology inside. So this is going to be a vehicle that's going to be packed to the brim, which is something I like about the Chinese cars. They are not shy to put technology in these cars. So we expect to see whatever you can think of in this car in a very nice, spacious interior. I think it's going to be very interesting, especially once it enters the market, because the Chinese are also known for bringing premium products at a very affordable price.
For me, I think I love the design.
I think it's different. It sort of reminds me of these Maybachs as well, but the design for me is just elegant enough. It's nice.
Yeah, yeah, and hats off again to the Chinese for this, because Chinese cars used to be very boring. They used to be very functional, and they never used to last. Was their biggest headache, and I think people shun away from these products because of that. But now I think they sat down, watched what's happening. We've talked about before how they quote unquote poached some of the head designers or the big minds from big car brands, incorporated them into their own designs and into their own factories to get ideas. And what I liked best about that, they listened and they let these guys lead the way. And now it's translating to exactly what you talked about. Cars that are looking much nicer. And fine, anything can look nice when it's new. But we're talking about some of the intrinsics inside. The interior is good, the finishings, the materials, the layout. One important thing is the reliability. This is a full package thing. It's now a very serious product. And to complement a car like that by equating it in terms of looks to another well-known brand is good. It means testament that the design language is working. It's doing what a car should do in terms of design. Turn your head and make you look at it.
Absolutely. Interesting. And finally, our highway code question. I want to believe you didn't do it last week.
Yes.
But today,
Time,
thankfully, I think we can squeeze it in.
Yeah, I think we can try. I think we can try.
So, if you're listening in, your highway code question is coming your way. Get ready to type. Get ready to. Let's test each other. Let's see who still has the highway code in their heads, or perhaps who still practices this as it should be. So the question is really, really simple. Do you want to go ahead, maybe, Taf?
Yeah, sure. We can do it again. So the question goes like this, and it's relevant to what's happening outside right now.
Yeah.
It is a cold winter, evening in this case, and you're driving on a road, and you notice a significant amount of mist or fog forming ahead, which is rapidly reducing your visibility. Now, according to the Zimbabwean Highway Code, what are the correct actions you should take immediately to ensure your safety and the safety of other road users? So you can list at least three things that the Highway Code clearly states you should do when you're driving at night and it's becoming foggy or misty and your visibility is reduced.
Muchando Munom, it's evening and you're driving. But manje, there's a lot of mist, there's a lot of fog. Kuonana ni mango ma road users in other cars. So the correct actions you should take immediately to ensure your safety and the safety, because I think most of the time we think it's about our safety, but it's also about the next person. So
the road is a shade space.
You see what I mean? So according to the Zimbabwean Highway Code, what are the correct actions you should take? At least 3 specific actions. I think it's straightforward, but you might be surprised. It's not very straightforward.
It's not as straightforward as people think.
For everyone. So 0719 100 404 is the number to get in touch, and you tell us what you're supposed to do in this regard. Uno Shamsa say in this space as well. I know there's one that probably people will come through because it's the most common one. But
there's a catch to it.
There is a catch to it as well. Or maybe we can take phone calls as well. So 0772 269 229 0772 269 241 is the number to get in touch with us. What do you do in this particular scenario? Timbo Wama driver, one of Shamsa say Kanawaipa Road as well. We've got someone on the line. Good morning, you're live. Good morning, you're live on Capital. Good. Fumo, please go ahead and attempt this question. Hello,
Too scary.
Hamba Vaita code feet. I'm Vora Pass 0772269229 0772269241. You can also text on WhatsApp as well. Could you know what I say in this regard? And there are 3 specific actions that you can take as well. Obvious, but it's usually obvious. So fun and that's usually very, very obvious. It makes it easier for you and the next person as well. What are you supposed to do in this regard as well? It sounds very simple, but trust me, we don't always do it as it is. Maybe we do some of the things,
but
as it is, church rule.
As recommended by the highway code.
Thank you. As recommended by the highway code, we don't do it as per those terms. Someone was trying to call. I don't know what happened to them. 0772 269 229 or 0772 269 241. Maybe because of our time, Chaff, we can just tell them.
No problem at all. So, of course, there's several different actions you can take, but the most important three we've picked out are that you must.
There's someone.
Perfect.
We are lucky.
Perfect.
Good morning, you're live. Mushe, should you say? Mushe, please go ahead and try to attempt this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. What else? Was that 3?
Yeah.
Ah, awesome. All right, thank you. So where are we talking to? Anthony, a very competent driver. Well done, Anthony. Congratulations. Awesome. Have a good day. Interesting. So yeah, pretty much went more in terms of that as well. You reduce your speed to a level where you can stop within the distance. You can see clearly. You switch on your headlights, but not on a high beat, because remember you need to still need to see, and the other person needs to see you. And you switch on your fog lights if they are fitted as well. So pretty much went to Nemone Mocha. Thank you so much for your time, and it's always a pleasure sitting down with you on Under the Hood. And of course, that's pretty much how we wrap it up on this edition of the Capital Crunch, the news.